So it's all come down to this.
And here we go.
These are my top 15 metal albums of 2023 overall, and we're starting with Altarage with Worst Case Scenario. Every time this band drops something, I'm immediately all over it. As much as I love Portal and speak highly of them regularly, more and more I feel like this band out of Spain is giving them a run for their money. This album is dense, with meticulously crafted Blackened menace from dissonant barrages of noisy, technical guitars to deeply menacing and head bob-inducing passages of hypnotic doom. Everything about this band's sound is just utterly apocalyptic, and the track Cataract is the perfect truncated showcase of everything they have to offer. If you like what you hear, be sure to check out their other full lengths because they have not dropped a dud yet. Next up is Hellripper with Warlocks Grim and Withered Hags. This album hit hard in February and managed to hold on strong the entire year, topping both the thrash and black metal end of year rankings as well. Truly wicked blackened thrash filled with wailing solos, chugging triplets, and hellish snarls, and made even more impressive when remembering that this is all the singular work of Scottish musician James McBain. Tracks like I the Deceiver, The Hissing Marches, and Goat Vomit Nightmare are pure, unadulterated headbang frenzies of punky D-beats, motorhead hooks, Maiden-esque harmonies, and rumbling bass grooves that never fail to put a smile on my face. While others like the Knuckle of A also tie in some Melodeath-sounding hooks a la Dissection. Delightfully devilish stuff.
Blasphemer!
Then we have the newest addition here, Panopticon, with the Rime of Memory. It's almost impossible for this project to release an album that doesn't make my end-of-year list at this point. With an already impeccable discography, on my very first listen, this managed to rocket into my top 3 albums from the band with another stunning display of atmosphere. The first 4 tracks here are a superb display of rising tension, culminating in the razorblade blizzard of an autumn storm before finally giving way once more to the shimmering ray of light that is enduring the snowdrought.
So beautiful.
And wrapping things up on an astoundingly epic conclusion with the blue against the white. From the guitars and relentless D-beats to the strings, layered harmonies, and blissful church bells, this is yet another master work. Yo, we still have plenty of albums left, but if you're enjoying the video so far, be sure to hit the like button and comment your own favorites down below. But next up, we have Portrayal of Guilt with Devil Music. This has been a really interesting band to follow over the past few years, as with each new release they only seem to become even more dark and raw, drifting into a similar atmosphere as groups like Indian and Lord Mantis. Devil Music finds the band further experimenting with a side A and side B that offer 2 different interpretations of the same 5 songs. First with the usual sickening churn of distortion, and then again like some demonic string quartet complete with Robert Eggers-like imagery. Everything an extreme metal fan could want is on display here. Malevolent blackened vocals like a demon spitting phlegm and bile, sludgy reptilian sounding guitars, and apocalyptic blast beats. By the end, I feel as though my soul has been completely drained from my body. Side B in particular really made this something that stood out from the pack this year. Then there's Enslaved with Heimdall. Enslaved are one of the greatest bands of all time with one of the strongest discographies out there, and this album is no exception to that rule. Plenty of variety on display too, with Behind the Mirror starting things off on a very head bob inducing note, somewhat reminiscent of thoughts like Hammers, while Congelia calls back to their icier black metal roots. Forest Dweller has a lush sense of scope and wonder, but my favorite continues to be Caravans to the Outer Worlds. Start to finish, every track here has something special to offer, from surprising synth work to more obvious flourishes of 70s prog influences. Unmatched atmosphere as always, and another fantastic showcase of the broad scope of sound that this band is capable of covering.
Can't argue with that.
Then we have Pupil Slicer with Blossom. Following in similar footsteps as CU Space Cowboy, this band has greatly expanded their sound from an already impressive display of bludgeoning mathcore on tracks like No Temple and Creating the Devil in Our Image to elements of alternative, emo, and post-rock on tracks like Blossom and Momentary Actuality. Dim Morning Light also opens with a silky effects-soaked guitar riff straight off of a Deftones album, as would a few of these sick bass lines. And the drumming is absolutely incredible across the board. In some ways, I could compare their sound to that of Rollo Tomasi, who dropped one of my favorite albums last year. But really, Pupil Slicer are doing their own thing, and I think that Blossom is easily their strongest testament to that fact to date. Then there's Scar Symmetry with the Singularity Phase 2 Xenotaph. Another incredibly underrated melodic death metal band returns with the more progressive take on the genre that sort of Soilwork meets Devin Townsend. And don't let the kind of corny cover art turn you away, this is riffage to the highest degree. Chrono Nautilus and Scorched Quadrant lead the way, equal parts crushingly heavy and incredibly catchy. Altergeist also has some Isan vibes, and I love the Meshuggah-y breakdowns on A Voyage with Tailed Meteors. And between the powerful cleans and wicked soloing, this thing gets truly epic in every sense of the word. Top-notch stuff and just what you want from a band coming off of nearly a decade of no new material.
Forget it.
Then there's August Burns Red with Death Below. One of the few remaining metalcore groups from the 2000s that are still putting out some of their best material. Once more, they continue to ramp up the dynamic, progressive songwriting while still delivering on those always dependable hooks, and also with some great guest appearances from metalcore royalty, including Spencer Chamberlain of Under Oath and Jesse Leach of Killswitch Engage. An incredible mix here of sing-along anthems, pit-worthy ragers, and progressive jaw-droppers, all of which manage to engage me both on a musical and emotional level. This is a must-listen not only for metalcore fans, but even those who tend to be on the fence about the genre. Then there's Valdrin with Throne of the Lunar Soul. This Ohio-based melodic black metal band has been picking up steam year after year, but I think that this new conceptual double album is their tour de force. Fusing elements of Dissection and Sacramentum with the more modern sensibilities of bands like Tribulation, this is 74 minutes of truly engrossing perfection. I often bemoan bands seemingly stretching out their runtimes with needless repetition, but this is the perfect example of how to justify the time investment. Much like how classic movies like The Godfather keep you riveted with great performances, editing, and pacing, Throne of the Lunar Soul keeps you on your toes and never leaves you checking your watch. Then there's Cattle Decapitation with Terracite. This band just keeps outdoing themselves, and they have done so once again. Fantastic singles here with Travis covering the full spectrum of his vocal acrobatics on We Eat Our Young. And Scourge the Offspring is even better with verses that go so hard with some really fantastic drumming, but then offset by another soaring melodic goblin chorus. And then the deeper cuts are equally awesome. I love the super gnarly, phlegmy vocals and riffing on the Insignificance, Aphotic Doom, Dead End Residence, Solastalgia, and the Storm Upstairs bring more serious stank face groove. And then we close with the epic 10 plus minute Just Another Body. Personally, I like this album even more than Death Atlas. Again, check out the tier list for my full discography ranking. Then we have King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard with Petrodragonic Apocalypse or Dawn of Eternal Night, an annihilation of planet Earth and the beginning of merciless damnation.
That was a mouthful.
Fun title for some of the most fun I've had with an album in years, and pulling from plenty of different genres. It's like Lateralis era Tool collided with the dirtbag desert aggression of Caius. There's even a part of Gila Monster that reminded me of White Zombie. Frankly, all 7 of these songs are absolutely flawless, carrying their longer runtimes again perfectly thanks to all the great dynamic changes, Dragon perhaps being my personal favorite, and so many infectious vocal lines that had me grinning like an idiot while I was singing along. In short, this may very well be my most listened album of the year. Then there's Necropanther with Betrayal. This Colorado band employs their own killer fusion of blackened thrash and melodic death metal. If you enjoy bands like Skeleton Witch, this is a band you need to know about right fucking now. The sheer amount of riffage on display alone is well worth the price tag. Also, each Necropanther album is conceptually centered on a film adaptation, previously covering Dune and Logan's Run, and now tackling a combination of 1979's The Warriors and the ancient Greek story of Anabasis, on which it was based. These elements only further expanding the already impressive scope of their soaring, harmonized leads and chugging palm mutes.
Warriors, come out to play.
Then there's Zoth with Exogalactic. This album absolutely knocked my socks off with its incredible guitar work, its thrash, its death, its heavy metal, galloping triplets, and shredding solos. In some ways I'd compare it to Ex Mortis, but really this is in a league all of its own. Some comparisons to Vector would be warranted as well, with the more progressive songwriting and sci-fi aesthetic. Any way you slice it though, this is one of the most impressively played albums of the year, and I really love the production too. It gives it a little bit of a retro feel that makes it go toe-to-toe with some classics. Then there's Alkaloid with Newman. Featuring members of Triptychon, Obscura, Dark Fortress, Obsidious, and more, Alkaloid is one of the finest death metal supergroups of the modern era, and with a slow but steady output that always seems to value quality over quantity. Newman continues that trend with more high-concept yet highly engaging songwriting over the course of this third album's nearly hour and 15-minute runtime. Year after year, my year-end picks, they are pretty long albums, so anyone who's still complaining that I just don't like long albums, you're not paying attention. Cliffosis and the Cambrian Explosion are the perfect 1-2 punch to kick things off, mixing progressive metal with jazz for compositions that are as mind-bending as they are heavy. Then you've got the infectious stomp of Clusterfuck and the fungi of Yoggoth, constantly shifting rhythms of shades of Shub-Niggurath, and the more classic prog influences of the title track and disturbing backtrack Abyss of the Folding. It's hard to beat the Malkuth Grimoire, but if you love progressive death metal performed by some of the current top talents in the genre, you'd be a fool to miss this one. Major grower too that only got exponentially better with each listen. And then we have Horrendous with Ontological Mysterium.
Bring me back, but I'll keep on climbing.
I already really loved how this band expanded on their sound with the incredible Idol in 2018, but nothing could have prepared me for this intro with those almost Queen-like harmonized guitars. And then going into the even more progressive riffing and clean vocals on Chrysopia, it very much feels as if these Philly boys have been listening to a lot of Cynic and Alkaloid. Hell, with where they're at on this one, I could see them opening up for Between the Buried and Me. It's a ballsy move to take such a left turn with your sound, but anyone, again, who has been paying attention to their development over the years shouldn't be at all surprised. I could see some OSDM purists hating that it's not as overtly death metal, but frankly, I think that death would have wound up in a similar place if they had continued on as well. Y'all check out this playlist for more of my favorite albums of 2023 by month, or this one ranking all these albums by genre. Thank you so much for watching and growing the channel so much this year. It means a lot to me. Support me on Patreon if you'd like these videos early, but that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.